Introduction. In June of 1996, I had a spiritual experience that later proved to be a warning of a future terrorist attack upon America. I was ministering at the Assembly of God in Brooksville, Florida, and was eating dinner at a local member's home on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. After eating, I was suddenly overwhelmed with a feeling of extreme tiredness, so I excused myself from the table to lie down and rest. It was about 3 o'clock when I lay across the bed, attempting to read my Bible. Within minutes, I laid my head on the Bible and immediately went into a very deep sleep. My very brief sleep was abruptly interrupted by a full-color vision. I was standing at the bottom of a paved road, looking up toward the top of a hill where the road ended at a large concrete wall. There were red brick one-story homes on the left and right sides of the road, with sidewalks climbing the hill on either side. Just above the wall, in a clear blue sky, I saw a black cloud that was a perfect square. I was curious as to what this was, so I began walking up the left sidewalk toward the top of the hill. I noticed I was barefoot, which I later learned was an indication in a dream of not being prepared for what was coming. I climbed on top of the wall and saw a strange sight. It was a large cornfield with rows of full-grown corn. As I looked from left to right, it appeared endless. However, it was several hundred yards across in front of me. Directly in the center, at the end of the field, was a large tower-looking building, the exact form of the World Trade Center in New York. It was shrouded in a solid black cloud from the top to the bottom. The more frightening part was the 5 grayish spinning tornadoes that were appearing to form in front of this large tower. The tornadoes were motionless, but suddenly the left one began spinning violently, throwing sparks and other objects out from it. It was as though the second one received its strength from the first one, and soon all 5 were emitting sparks, spinning with great grayish smoke. I distinctly remember they were not black, as normal tornadoes are. As the left one began spinning, it moved from in front of the tower into the cornfield and began ripping corn out by the roots, leaving an empty straight path. The other 4 were preparing to move in the same manner, each destroying a line of corn from the back to the front of the corn in the field. That is when I turned, running down the hill, yelling, "We must get into the cleft of the rock." I repeated the same phrase twice. I suddenly realized I was lying on the bed, and my eyes were open. I was so overwhelmed, not knowing what I had witnessed, that I left the room to speak with a fellow minister, Don Channel, who was traveling with me. I told him the vision and said the tower looked like the World Trade Center, shrouded in black, but I was uncertain as to what it meant. That night I informed the church what I saw and immediately began sharing the vision with others. The interpretation was unclear, as often happens in a spiritual warning. The understanding either must be prayed about or will be understood as the vision begins to unfold. For several years I told the vision, and in 1999 an artist, J. Michael Leonard, drew a sketch of what I described to him in the vision. He also drew a picture of a second vision I experienced months later, which I felt tied into this one. The second visitation. Months later, I experienced a second vision that involved 5 gray tornadoes. This time I was in a large city and began to hear people screaming, "The storm is coming, what should we do?" I led them into a downtown church constructed from large grayish stones. I saw 3 ethnic groups, African American, Hispanic, and Asian men and women, all huddled together with their ethnic groups. Some were in shock and others were in prayer. Looking through an opening of the church door, I saw 5 grayish tornadoes, one following another, spinning wildly. This time there were soda cans, computer paper, all sorts of debris being thrown from the rolling and spinning gray clouds. A total of 5 tornadoes passed by. When we went outside, there were intact downtown office buildings that were sitting empty. The office is ruined and incapable of conducting business. The entire city was stunned, and outsiders were setting up areas on the streets with food, water, clothes, and even children's toys for those within the city who had experienced some form of destruction from these storms. I knew these two visions were linked. However, the understanding was uncertain. When I shared these two visions with partners at our main meeting in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, later that year, I told them I believed there would be a major terrorist attack on the World Trade Center at some point in the future. After showing the drawings in 1999 during a national prophetic television special, and still nothing had happened, I put the sketches in my office closet at work and said nothing further about them. Until the morning of September 4, 2001. While cleaning out the closet, I pulled the drawings out and told a coworker in our office, Mel Kolbeck, "Mel, this is a terror attack coming against the World Trade Center in the future. I don't know when, but it will happen."